The information expressed in the following podcast is intended for educational purposes only and was created by and belongs solely to Believe Limited and the Flow podcast and does not necessarily reflect the views of our sponsors. Please speak to your healthcare provider before making any medical decisions.
Hi, I'm Jessica, and welcome to Flow. I'm here like every month with Sarah Watson, sex therapist, and this month we're flowing with Cristina de la Riva. Cristina is a dual master student in social work and human sexuality, and we're going to all talk about PMDD and much more. But first, we all want to know, how's your flow?
Yes, we have to vibe.
We have to vibe.
We
Welcome
have
once
to vibe.
again to
Not an
Flow.
option.
It keeps things flowing. It
does.
keeps things flowing.
It's true.
We like to start off Flow with checking in about where we are flowing in our cycles. Where's the vibes at in your cycle, y'all?
Cristina, how about you first?
Well, I'm in an interesting flow right now. Okay. So I'm switching to a different birth control. But I started ovulating by the time I got that medication. So we're going in there. We're in luteal.
Cool.
Like we just started luteal
Mhm.
and we're doing it without the normal medication. So yeah. So the metaphorical emergency bags are packed. We're good. We feel good. There's no storm waters happening yet. But I'm looking out for her.
Yeah.
That's where she's at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, I just ovulated, and I learned on a recent Flow episode that as soon as you ovulate, luteinizing hormones get released. So even though your luteal phase is only the week before, you're actually getting that luteal instinct. The second you ovulate, then you're in luteal.
Right. It's like
That's where I'm at.
yeah. I'm in a fight with my IUD because I had breakthrough bleeding the whole time. Just enough, but like I have never had that in all of my time of having my sweet best friend IUD. So I literally just emailed my gynecologist to see what the heck is going on. And I know my factor levels and they're high enough that this should not be happening. Well, high for me. So yeah, I'm sassy, I'm follicular, and pissed.
It sounds like we're all having like reproductive Mercury retrograde right now. Honestly.
Yes.
It's inside of us. Yes.
Yeah. Plus the full moon like last week, you're right. So
I don't know. Let us catch a break.
What a perfect time to talk about PMDD and maybe even Lilith. What? I don't know. We'll find out right after this quick break.
This ad is brought to you by Von Vendy, Von Willebrand Factor Recombinant.
Hi, my name is Nicole. I didn't always feel empowered to speak up for myself or ask for the care and support I needed. Becoming part of a community and hearing other people's experiences helped to change my perspective. That's why my deciding factor is making my voice heard. To hear my story and access other helpful resources, drop by Von Vendy, that's VONVENDI.com/patient-stories.
And we're back. I know I'm excited about today, but I'm excited and I feel a lot of feelings in general at this time in my cycle. I don't know that I would diagnose my symptoms as PMDD, but I believe I can identify with some of them. I have been bowled over on this show hearing the littlest bit about its relevance, about the study on it, about the fact that there are legislative acts that can support you getting time off if you have a PMDD diagnosis. Even in today's world, that is true. So PMDD has been this monolith to understand. Do you have experience with it?
100%. And we're all bringing different information to it. So I can't speak even as the expert because none of us can. But I can talk about what I've been feeling. And also I can talk about my experience in finding community in PMDD recently, which has been wild. So it's an interesting thing to talk about because it touches every part of me. Sarah, I'm sure you can relate to this, like becoming a therapist and also having a uterus and becoming a sex therapist. I feel this very interesting pull of I want to be the expert on it, but it's also, there's certain topics that you don't want to touch because they feel very personal to you. PMDD is that thing for me. And so it's one of those things that I avoided learning about because it just felt so present in me and in my daily life. and it feels confusing.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, PMDD and how it shows up, it's 3 days to 2 weeks before my period. I feel like I turn into a different person.
Yeah.
I become lethargic. My anger is a little bit higher than I would say my normal is. I feel like I become a different person.
Mm-hmm.
And how I've come to understand it is that it's a clinical difference of how my body metabolizes those hormones that would be the normal influx right before, like in your follicular phase, before you menstruate. And so for me, I felt really alone in that. I knew that people felt PMS symptoms, and I thought that I was experiencing normal PMS symptoms. I just thought that I handled them really poorly.
Mm.
I thought that I was I
Classic.
was like, oh, well, people have PMS, they get cramps. Exactly. They get cramps. Um, I don't really get cramps. I get horizontal. I get horizontal sad. Uh, I get horizontal sad. Um, and it just feels like every self criticism becomes louder for me.
Mm.
So I tried to look and find information for it for the longest time. And right now I'm living in Texas. So the access to that information is a lot more difficult
Uh-huh.
um, for me. Yeah, I learned through community, really like piecing together in a step to step thing, not through the doctors, but through like my fellow PMDD people, what they experience, and then bringing it to my doctors and having that piece of patient advocacy to be like, this is what I'm experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a normative thing? I know it's normative ish in the people that I'm talking to. I know that there's a community around this. But yeah, so I learned also that PMDD um, varies for each person. The why
Mm-hmm.
between like how we get to having these symptoms, having PMDD in general is different for everyone. And that it can be exacerbated by trauma.
Mm-hmm.
That was a new thing that I found
Mm-hmm.
out. And the most fun tidbit for me is that people with ADHD have higher rates of PMDD.
Mm.
Hey,
Hello.
love that for me because exactly. Exactly. Because I need to address my PMDD via the way of like lower luteal phase serotonin. That's
Mm-hmm.
where I get my symptomology. So that's where I'm at right now and
It's so
piecing it together.
the brain chemistry,
Uh-huh.
the hormones, and then being an expert in understanding some of those things or becoming an expert as you are studying to become a sex therapist. So then, yeah, that's got to be a strange conflict,
Hmm.
knowing what you know and experiencing the whirlwind.
But okay, so it's
Yeah,
going to help you as a therapist. Like, I know you're like, I don't want to share that, which everyone has their own, but like, it is going to help you. It's going to make you more relatable. You're going to
yeah.
understand your clients, especially because like sex and periods and menstruation and all of that goes together. So it is going to
Hmm.
help you. It is, I promise. I
Yeah.
swear.
I don't want to use the word trope, but it's what I got right now. I know
Yeah.
it's like, I know the trope of it brings empathy. Absolutely. It's, it's interesting with PMDD, and I notice this a lot with everybody that I talk to. Shame in PMDD
Mm.
is such a thing that is there. And with anything else, around any other symptomology, around any other diagnosis for me, I can feel that, see it, not really feel shame around
Mm-hmm.
it, and carry that into what I do in a way that like I'm like, this creates empathy. PMDD is my tricky spot, and I have to do a lot more work because how we've created like cultural scripts
Mm-hmm.
around certain things around PMDD, which I know we're going to get into maybe a little bit later when we talk about Lilith and certain things that have informed the
Mm-hmm.
culture about why we fear things that are uncontrollable or rage filled or lazy or unproductive.
Mm-hmm.
But those are all of the things that I know are not actually true of me. I'm experiencing something, but those are the things that my brain comes up with,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard to get out of.
Mm-hmm.
All of those things are true, and the recognition of this is the thing that is harder for me. So I have to build structures
Around. Yeah.
that help me
Yeah.
around that time.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I would love to. I think it's important for us to kind of talk about. So there's 11 symptoms of PMDD, right? So we've talked about a few,
Mhm.
Christina. So, like, I'm going to run through them: depression, anxiety, mood swings, irritability, anger, decreased interest in life activities, difference in concentrating, difficulties, hello ADHD, right? Fatigue, hello, must be
Right.
horizontal. Appetite changes, sleep disruption, overwhelm, and then all sorts of physical changes, right? And like, can't we all like, here's the thing, the tricky thing about PMDD is like, it is extreme. So just as we talk about extreme menstruation, like this is different than PMS. It is going to knock you off your day to day, and how debilitating that can be for all of us. And then be like, okay, well, how come so-and-so next, my pal, my roommate can get up and go do whatever, but I have to be on the couch. Like that's, this part of the narrative we're creating. So I think we need to talk more about that narrative.
Yeah, we do. And like, I love that you bring the piece and the distinction of it being debilitating, because that was the thing that was difficult for me and many other like people that I talk to that have PMDD to distinguish. Because having cramps in itself, horrible.
Yes.
We should all get paid time off. We know this. We know this.
That's our clap. We must need a clap here. Yes.
Absolutely. But in this way, with PMDD, it's hard to get out of bed. There are many people that experience it in a way that like they just physically cannot move. Yep. I know that with me, a certain symptomology that comes up is that my depression gets so bad sometimes that I question reality a bit. And that, that intrusive thoughts. I was talking to a friend recently that just went to a conference about PMDD. And we were exchanging stories. I'll have to look up like what the name of the conference is in a little bit.
Please.
But we were exchanging stories about what she went through and how she found certain therapies. She tried ketamine-assisted therapy for her. It didn't work so well with this person specifically because she was already picturing stuff. I thought, and I don't like to use this word, but it's what I had to come up with. I thought I was going crazy.
Yeah.
Genuinely, y'all. I thought I was going crazy because I was starting to picture things and I was starting to reason outside of like my own logic. I wasn't able to show up for meetings. I wasn't able to show up for school. I was getting angry at things that maybe 3 days before I had gone into like luteal, I could reason out of. And so it took a lot of advocacy for me to get it addressed with my doctor of like, no, this is not just a normal hormonal shift. I'm not irritable. This is debilitating. Like I can't
And you're
function.
not crazy.
Thank you.
PMDD.
Yes.
There's
exactly.
that. And you're not crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And for a while, there was even this like differential diagnosis for a while where I thought that I had borderline personality disorder, which is what a few other women that I talked to.
Right?
Exactly. And we can get into the whole concept of like cultural construction and like why we say that about people with uteruses. However, for a while I had to talk to my psychiatrist about like, am I bipolar or do I have BPD? What is this shift that is happening to me that is so extreme for half of the month?
Yeah. Right. Because it can be a whole 14 days. Right. So what did you do? Okay. So if you're comfortable sharing, what do you do for yourself when you are horizontal from PMDD, not just from sleep?
What do I do when I'm horizontal?
Yeah. What's your treatment protocol, if you will?
I give this to clients and now I had to self-prescribe it to self. Safety plan sometimes, honestly, a safety plan. Like I know my 3 people that I call and it's a range for me, right? I did this in 2022 where when everything was uncertain around me, I would give it a certain amount of time. And if it went over and it went into a spiral, I'd be like, okay, it's getting into that unsafe zone. So when it goes into that unsafe zone, I know who I can call. I know that I need to do a meditation, even as cliche as it sounds, I need to do a meditation. I started taking magnesium and honestly, magnesium helped so much for me. And for me, birth control. Staying on birth control really helps me. I don't know what's going to happen this time because I'm switching over my birth control. but I have everything in place. I know that whenever, like, it's the simple things. When I wake up, especially in my luteal phase, I want to be on my phone. I cannot be on my phone. I have to eat a leafy green for breakfast. I have to get into the sunlight and walk immediately.
Yes.
At work, I'm in a high stress time. I'm in an internship. I do mental health in Texas with queer folk. I know that I need to meditate in the middle of the day, and tap in. And also, I need to read about structures, about archetypes of this experience before me to know I'm not the only person.
Yes.
To know that, like, this has been a thing that people have been focusing on and have been experiencing before me for millennia.
Yeah. Well, who have you read about? Let's hear it. I think
And what have they been calling it for millennia? I mean, like in the early days, how did we? Yeah.
Ooh,
Right.
It's come by many different names. We could go back to Inan, but I don't think we have time to go all the way back to Mesopotamia.
Well, maybe next we'll do a two-parter. We'll do like our deep history. I love it. But okay, tell us.
Not against this being a series.
Love it.
But I mean, we've had hysteria. We know that the Greek word for uterus is hysteria. We know that Lilith. So to get into the archetype of Lilith, because she is my girl, I also treat her with reverence. I know that this is a wild thing to talk about in wild. Actually, that word in itself. Let's rewild the concept of having a uterus, because it is a beautiful, powerful, wild thing to have in our bodies. It is also a little bit of left field to talk about in a podcast for bleeders, but why not? The reason I use her and I think about her and I bring her up is because she formed the social construct of, like, what it is to be uncontrollable, unpredictable, righteously angry, righteously autonomous. The way that her structure or her story comes to be, it was a non. So I'm going to go from, like, the Jewish tradition, like in the Torah. So in the Adam and Eve story, she was Adam's first wife before Eve. She was created from the earth next to him, not his rib. So they are structures of autonomous beings of their own making. In fact, before I get into, like, talking about her further, I think I'll ask y'all, what do y'all know about Lilith? If anything.
I mean, originally I know her from the fair that occurred in the feminist wave, second feminist wave of the 90s.
My girl McLaughlin, Sarah.
So,
we love her. Yes. I am obsessed.
Tori Amos, you know.
Oh God, don't even get me started on the 90s, ladies. I did not. I grew up, and I think I've shared this on the pod before, in a very conservative household. So the idea of Lilith I went to Christian school. I grew up going to Christian school and going to church. Had not heard of Lilith until probably, I want to say, middle school or high school. And, and I just referenced my love of 90s women and rock, like Lilith Fair. I went to all of them, and I've met my superhero, Sarah McLaughlin. But, you know, and like her take on Lilith and how important she is was really, really foundational for me. But yeah, when did you first hear about her?
Well, similar. I was born in the 90s. I'm sorry. Did I need to say that? No, I was born in the
90s. I'm sorry. That was so good. It's okay. It's okay.
No.
We love people born in the 90s.
But no, like, so much. I mean, there's so much millennial hate. I have to get it in somewhere. Same with you. I mean, I grew up Catholic. So I didn't even know about Lilith at all. And the only time that I did learn about her, I would say that I was in middle school or high school. And there was some TV show, where she was like a she demon. Oh. And essentially the story that does get created of her is that she was a she demon. Yeah. That she stole men, and that she would, like, be unkind to kids, and that she was someone to be feared. She was an angry woman, an angry, uncontrollable, unpredictable, unproductive woman. And when I went to read about her, I don't remember how she came to me. I was just reading about mythology and women and how we culturally construct things. And I went to the University of Amsterdam 2 summers ago and was with them, and they have this like a wonderful study. It's called the HHP. It's Hermetic History Program, I believe. And there was a person that like studies Lilith, and we got into it. And that's how I was introduced to like what she actually was. She is a She is a figure of wisdom. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this in a way that like, I know that we can say anything on this podcast, but I also want it to be palatable to everyone listening. So I'm talking about Lilith, but I don't want to like, you know?
Just do it. Just do it. We're not, it's okay.
All right,
Just
cool.
do it.
Her story and how it's created, at least in the Jewish tradition, because there are murmurs of her in history and time, all the way back to Anon. But I would be talking for 3 hours. So I'm going to start it from here. Go right here. She was created from the earth next to Adam, her own autonomous being, not from rib, because we can understand what would be to be created of man versus next to, right? So the story goes that they were in the Garden of Eden having sex openly, not having to ask, not having to do anything. There was no shame. There was no guilt at this time. The tree of wisdom also was not a thing at this point. There was no, you cannot touch this. They were just all exchanging freely. Okay. And Adam and Lilith were having sex. We're having a great time, whatever else. The story does dictate that Lilith was always above Adam. And so one day, Adam called on God and said, she is above me. This doesn't feel right. Doesn't she need to submit to me? Like I feel like that's a thing that's missing here. And tattletailed on the woman, essentially. And so God then called on Lilith. And I don't have a tattoo, but if I were to get one, thinking about it, it might be this, y'all. Genuinely, this conversation. That God, I don't know it perfectly either, so if I'm getting this wrong, I'm so sorry to listeners. It's not going to be the exact dictation, but I'm paraphrasing. That God said that she needed to submit to Adam. Essentially, there's no marriage at this point, but how we can read it as submit to your husband. And she said the very famous word, why? She questioned God. She had enough critical thinking skills to ask a question and not simply obey. She's personifying wisdom that is not controlled she's not like obeying on command. So then God essentially said reasoning that I do not know. I don't even know that sentence, but it was a reasoning. It was a reasoning. And then she said the very famous word, no. The only iterance of no that had ever been recorded yet in any Abrahamic religion. No. And so what happened is that she then was banished. She then becomes the concept of wind. She's been personified even before this as wind, uncontrollable movement, freedom. She flows. She flows in a way that can't be predictable. It can't be predicted in chronological, easy cycles. So for me, I even feared her as a Catholic youth myself. I was like, oh my gosh, even reading about Lilith, I was like, I feel wrong. But thinking that there was a person out there that personified a non-chronological wisdom of shedding and rebirth, because that's also what she personifies. Wisdom, shedding, rebirth, rage. She was
Mm-hmm.
rageful for a reason. And why I like to think about her when I'm in PMDD, while I regulate my nervous system and treat others with kindness and do not act. I'm not running my car into people. I might think it. She's there. The wand is there.
But she's not pushing the
She's not
accelerator.
pushing the accelerator.
Good.
Um,
Great.
while I don't do it, obviously, like that, I get very afraid of myself right before luteal. When I ovulate, I've had, and when speaking with other people with PMDD, like this fear of self, I don't want to say is a universal experience because I don't want to generalize for everyone, but it comes up a lot with everyone I speak to. Fear, genuinely. I was speaking to my best friend about this a couple months ago, when I was going to get off my birth control to get onto a different birth control. And I knew these months were going to be here. And I was so scared of who would come up. It's so interesting. That's such a very real somatic feeling. Yeah. Anyway, and so I thought about Lilith again, about why do we fear our anger that deeply? Oh, we've learned to do this through time. We've learned that anger is not a natural thing in women. And if it is, it's something ugly, it's something wrong, it's something dangerous. And while we shouldn't be treating just like with wrath shouldn't be done unto others. I, even sitting alone in my apartment, not speaking to anyone, was so afraid of hurting people, even when I wasn't interacting with people. And so I thought about her a lot and started thinking on this. And it's come up with clients before, even outside of PMDD, about menstruators or people with uteruses, about how they fear their uncontrollableness or the things that don't make sense about them or the things that make them angry. And so sometimes being able to put it in an archetype and look at that and have text to it and to deconstruct those things that we were taught that were actually not what was actually said. Lilith, before she was banished, before she was harmed, was a person full of wisdom, was an archetype or whatever, that was freely exchanging pleasure, joy, wisdom, and text and knowledge. And then she got told that she cannot do what is natural to her. And she questioned it. And then someone harmed her. And so when I think about PMDD and how people who have PMDD have higher rates of trauma, I like to use this. I like to think on this, and validate ourselves, because rage is sacred. It's sacred technology for clearing things, dead things away. If something's not working for me in my life, that thing becomes loud around PMDD, very loud. Even my own, like, if I'm not doing something well for myself, my mental health, if I am scrolling on my phone in the morning before going and doing my walk, if I'm not doing the things, they transmute into something not great. It transmutes, that PMDD thing turns into, you're a lazy, terrible person. You're the reason that you're sad. But if I think about it for a minute, and I use these skills of thinking about the archetype, of thinking about what is the thing that's yelling for attention, then I go, oh, I need to show up for myself in this way. I'm not showing up for myself in this way. I need to build more structures around it.
Right, as opposed to being ashamed of being angry about a need not being met. We could just meet the need. But the shame comes up because the anger comes up, because first, the needs aren't being met. at
Mhm.
whole for women's health, women's reproductive health. Most women are
Yeah.
getting a lot of dismissal. There are some amazing doctors out there, but just to relate the experience even without PMDD, the idea of shame for rage is a construct that when I'm listening to you, I'm listening to how to like dismantle it,
Mhm.
which feels very empowering. I'm also struck by the story of the tree, knowing that there was not at one point a sacred place that you couldn't touch that had all the wisdom, but maybe it was just all accessible. That
It
what we
was
do
all
when
in
we
them.
talk to each other is just make it all accessible. It's not something only, for example, certain doctors may know.
Certain
You know
people,
about your
yeah.
own body. Yeah.
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 She
I also go ahead.
no, I was just relating to it. Like we when I think about the bleeding disorder community and I think about the PMDD community, it's amazing
Similar.
the similarities, the innate wisdom, and also the innate like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, I thought I was alone in this, and how we find each other, I think is really powerful because I mean, I will be at like I'll be in class and I will find someone with a bleeding disorder. I'll be at the grocery
It's
store. The,
uh-huh.
the milk aisle effect and being a therapist is wild, okay? I don't know if you feel this, Sarah.
What is that?
Well, I have to like I keep my eyes down and like put a AirPod in because I like to grocery shop like that's not normal, I don't think. So tell
Okay, that's anything.
share
Okay,
with
perfect.
well, like I'm hiding when I'm out and about, so yeah.
No, the milk aisle effect for me, I with my mom and I, we talk about this. It's maybe I should put my headphones in because like we will make eye contact and then someone will tell you about, what's going on in their life and then you're just there. And there's boundaries that
Yeah.
need to be there, but it just
Yeah.
happens.
That's when like the resting bitch face like really like works well for me. Like as I think this podcast since and anyone who knows me knows that like you know exactly what I'm thinking on my face. Like I can't all my clients are like, Sarah, I already know what you're gonna say. I can see it. And I was like, sorry. But like so it worked for me in session and out. But yeah, like people just like
Absolutely.
want to dump because it's really hard to find a safe place and you have an aura of safety.
I appreciate it, but also I love that you use your face in session because I do too. That I'm gonna say it on a podcast. That blank slate therapy, never doing it. I'm not doing it.
Bullshit. Yes,
I want to be a
no.
person. Yes, I want to be a
No.
person, and I want to be a person in the room with another person that feels.
Yes.
Mhm.
I had this thought while you were speaking about kind of that rage is sacred and
Mhm.
thinking about how you walk through like your thoughts and or really you kind of switch out of that. But I also want to remind you and everyone, right, that our thoughts are not truth. Right? It's not cemented. Just because you have a thought does not make it a cemented truth. And it's like, okay, can I just let this thought pass through? That doesn't mean I need to grab onto it. And I can just kind of let it be like, okay, that might be scary. We need to pay attention. But it's not the truth about who you are at the core. And like, again, you're like, okay, yeah, I thought about driving into that tree, but like, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But your thoughts are not true. And then, yeah, like who imprinted you with like this other piece of like the fear of our rage? Like who imprinted all of us with the fear of rage and anger?
Yeah.
I mean, we all know, but thinking
I
about
really
that too.
like. Yeah. I really like your thought about the passing of the thought. We did this exercise where in class lately where we were trying to like create different metaphors and modalities of like what we would give people and ourselves. And I came up with this like concept or we all came up with different things of a comet and a universe. How especially working with like gender expansive clients, sometimes the way that they engage in their sexuality for some reason negates how they feel about their gender. And I try to help a client know that it just all exists and one truth does not negate the other or mean something to the other thing.
Yes.
So like there's stars in our universes, but those thoughts, those are comets that pass. And like around trauma or triggers, those are things that can come back I actually don't know how a comment works, but we're going to use it for this, okay? In my thought process,
I like
a
it.
comet can do
Reasonable.
this, okay? Thank you.
Some do. Some
Yeah.
do. They have an orbit. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so they do have an orbit. Great, then it works. But yeah, they pass through. But like in terms of a comet, like it's a thing that I know is important. I can see it. It can shoot through. And I know that around luteal phase, it can come back up, just like how we know that about like trauma and like important trauma dates. That's going to come back up. And if we're aware of it, I can see it as a beautiful shooting star past me. And it can be real. I can feel that. I can be like, whoa. And I can also reflect in the beauty of its passing. Great. Gone.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Which sounds like a way to, so it's a management tool for PMDD thought processes, as well as maybe even like enduring certain other symptoms that come up to allow it to leave. Yeah. I feel like now I better understand why Lilith Fair then was this 90s group of powerful songstresses talking about the issues that have been swept under the rug that are actually so vital, things that they've endured that were actually traumatic. And finally there was a space to say, let's make a safe space to talk about it and it be heard. Music's powerful that way.
100%.
Expression is powerful, talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And Lilith Fair was like a great space for like their own concept of sexuality. Like that, they got to rage and they got to be sexual beings. And that is also another thing that it might be one of the biggest things about Lilith is that she sits in her autonomy as a pleasure being, because she is not necessarily a being of reproduction. That's a huge, and that's one of the, I don't know why I didn't say this earlier. That's why I use her with PMDD work, because she's about the opposite of reproduction. She's what would come with blood. She is the being that is in the menstruation. This would be like a thing that I'm like a self thing that I'm creating, but she would be the constant bleeder. Truly. Because she's not a child. And so she is of pleasure and of being and repeating that cycle in a way that does not make sense to the mandation of reproduction. So it also makes sense that they're like, yeah, we're hot. Like, because she's, I mean, look at every printing of her. She's either terrifying or she's hot. Which that is a story in itself.
And I want to bring it back only since Sarah's back to pleasure. To pleasure, though, the idea that she is there to honor pleasure, and in both of your pleasure activism works, you know, like what comes to be about reducing shame by reconnecting with pleasure. That Lilith can be a model for us to be.
I want to find the books for it, but there are a multitude of books about her as a pleasure being, as an archetype. There's so many practices that people do that like to get back into the body. In fact, like it's a model that I was thinking about for like people who like are having like post-trauma engagements with their sexuality and like trying to figure out how to embody things. Like there's that concept of mirror work, of like looking into the mirror and seeing your body and then going forth with like self-pleasure and learning that again. Lilith is a wonderful archetype to play with around that, because I was saying earlier that like Lilith is not a being of reproduction. She's a being of pleasure and nothing else.
Bleeding
and redoing it. So yeah, it's why I like to work with her. It's also why her story can lend itself to a lot of queer retellings of pleasure.
Love that.
Because it's not involving pleasure that is a means to a reproductive end.
Which is also an important part of like societal normalization to occur. That we are alive during and recording this during. And we could record an entire series to go into the impact of the lore of Lilith on traumatic and PTSD experiences. I'm so glad you brought her up. We were here to talk about PMDD, and she is an icon of it, of the experience, and hopefully listeners who hadn't heard of her or related their own PMDD experience, they'll be able to check in our show notes some of the recommendations of things to check out, how to learn more about her. how to learn more about the work you're doing. Is there anything else you'd like to share about the incredible work you're doing?
I'm going to launch my website in maybe a month, which I'm really excited about. Yeah, it's called The Power of Pleasure, and I'm gonna have a Substack along with it that I will be. Yes. Also, I want to put this out there that none of my work, by the way, could happen if Sarah Watson did not put me onto this and help me. Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna cry on a podcast. Let's not do that. But Sarah Watson is the reason that I am the sex therapist that I actually can say that I'm a very good sex therapist. She's the reason another one is in the world. You are the person that gave me the book Pleasure Activism, which is the foundational piece of my being. So Sarah, you have a lifelong stamp on my work, and you impact all of the clients that I
You're so
help.
sweet.
So
Thank you.
snaps to
Oh,
you.
you're so sweet. Thank you. You're doing amazing work, and I am so proud to know you. So proud.
Same. Yeah, and the work here is I am an intern at the Montrose Center. If anyone wants to donate to the Montrose Center, that would be
Awesome.
great. It is the largest LGBTQ center in the state of Texas. It is one of the only places that grants funding to the life-saving care, along with domestic violence support, housing, queer youth support, you name it, it's there. So you could go check them out and donate to them. Yeah, and I also want to note that there is the International Association of Premenstrual Disorder group. Yeah, IAPMD. It's where I found a lot of this information. It's also where I found a lot of community.
Awesome.
They've got a great Facebook that you can check out, share your experiences, find different things. Science is science. I want to make that very, very clear before we go on the Facebook message groups. Science is science.
Yes.
However, there's great resources there.
Fantastic. Yay.
You are a beacon of great resources and energy and intelligence. Thank you so much for flowing with us. I also am the biggest fan of Sarah, which is why I can't wait to be back here next month with all of you too. Thanks for listening to Flow. Flow is produced by Bloodstream Media. Big shout out to our creative director, Amy Board, and our editor, Kay Vermeil. New episodes of Flow will be available the second Thursday of every month.
Hey, that's the day after I start menstruating.
And thanks to our sponsor, Takeda, for their support of Flow.